We be live. Shalom, shalom. How's my audio? How's everything? But guys, make sure you like the stream because this channel is now active again. We're going to be talking about a lot of new things that you don't get on my other channels. And I think, and I'm not exaggerating, guys. I'm not exaggerating. And you could challenge me on this, but there is absolutely no topic, and I say this with more confidence than I usually talk about anything else. There's absolutely nothing more important than what I'm about to tell you in the next hour or so. And you could challenge me on this. And I think by the end of the stream, some of you might be convinced. When it comes to politics, when it comes to religion, all of that is important. We should talking about it when it comes to world affairs, culture, arts, everything. Everything is important. But this is the most important topic because you are some of the luckiest humans that have ever lived. Every single one. Because you have been born in a very, very special time. Human civilization is around 10,000, 11,000, 12,000 years old. Let's say 10,000 years. Okay. And humans have been on this planet for around, I don't know, 300,000, give or take 300,000 years. And from all the time that you could have been born, all these humans have came and went throughout history, and they died. You guys, you and me, have been born at a time that things are going to change in a way that no humans either could not imagine or made religions out of it. We are at an edge of a cliff, and you have been so lucky to be born right at this very, very edge. And if we die, we will be the last humans who have died. This is the last generation that gets to die. And from after this, we are going to have nothing short of godhood in our future. And I will show you that almost everything that religion has promised and failed to deliver is now being delivered with science and technology. And it's not just one technology. It's like people think AI. It's just people keep saying AI. And by the way, the AI bubble is real, but AI influence is also going to be real, because a lot of people think that AI bubble means that this is all hype. The AI bubble is just like the .com bubble. It means that there's going to be hype, there's going to be overhype, there's going to be a lot of companies that can promise you everything and fail, but the underlying technology will remain and change everything. Just like the .com bubble, when it happened, and many companies went under because of overpromising and under delivering, but internet didn't go away, and internet changed everything as expected. So we are in the middle of an AI bubble, and it might burst, meaning that many companies just come and say that we're going to do AI shit, and they won't be able to do anything meaningful, and eventually they will go bankrupt. But the underlying technology is about to change everything. And it's not just AI. Other than AI, it's medical technology and also energy, solar panel, fusion, and many, many other things. We are in the middle of the fourth industrial revolution, and remember, if you think about the other industrial revolutions that we have had before, it was either about more access to energy or more access to information and processing power of that information. And this industrial revolution that we're about to experience is both happening at the same time on a scale never seen before. By the way, guys, thank you so much for liking the stream, because this is very important. If you do not understand what is about to happen, you might get left behind. And the difference behind getting left behind, guys, is death or godhood. Is nothingness or everything. There's nothing, and this is not just a matter of theory. You guys have been born in a time that if you make the right decisions, you might live long enough to see yourself becoming a god. And if you make a few stupid decisions, you might miss an opportunity that was given to you, that was not given to any humans that came before you for 300,000 years. And you managed to just get so close to the sun, but eventually lose your wings and die. It's very important that you make, I will tell you what's happening, and I will tell you at the end of the stream what decisions you need to make to not be left behind. And they're not that complicated. So even without AI, the cost for energy, non-fossil energy, right, is dropping like a rock, faster than many people anticipated. Many of the things that humans cannot do is because of lower access to energy. Lack of energy is what ties our hands. If you look at societies that progress faster, they're very correlated, and you could show the correlation and the causation between that society's access to energy and how fast it progresses. And that's why many of the industrial revolution, I think 2 out of the 3 industrial revolutions that we have had, was because of more access to energy. Many things that are even unimaginable right now to us will become easy when energy becomes extremely cheap and accessible. Perry saying Armin is turning into a motivational speaker. Good, because if you do not get enough motivation to do the few things that I'm going to tell you at the end of the stream, you have made the biggest mistake of your life. And let me tell you, there are no mistakes bigger than this mistake, because any other mistake can be fixed. You could overcome them. You could repair, but not this one. If you make a mistake about your career choices, if you make a mistake about your love life, if you make a mistake about, I don't know, where to go, what to watch, what to learn, all of that could be fixed. But if you don't do the things that I tell you at the end of the stream, that is an unfixable mistake. And you have missed an opportunity, not of a lifetime, but of all lifetimes. Let me tell you why this is not an exaggeration, and things are about to happen really fast, and maybe not fast enough. We don't know. Like, we don't know if this is a matter of 5 years, 20 years, 40 years, 50 years, but it is going to be, is potentially is going to be within the lifetime of most of you watching. And that's all that matters. And it doesn't take much for you to be able to reach what I call the golden zone, right? And let me tell you why some people don't understand how fast this is coming. Because the human brain thinks in linear terms when it comes to things progressing. It doesn't understand. It has to look, when it comes to exponential growth, it needs to look at graphs and things being explained to it to be able to understand how fast, because it sees something changing and it thinks like it's going to continue changing at the same pace. It doesn't understand how fast the slope is going to increase, especially when we're in a Darwinian model, where we're in a self-correcting mechanism. So, for example, if you look at animal evolution, and if you look at we had many years of bacteria, and all of a sudden, boom. And then if you look at, for example, the Cambrian explosion, we had the diversity of life all of a sudden became exponentially higher, because when things are Darwinian, uh, things seem to be happening slow for a very long time, and then all of a sudden things happen so fast. And when it comes to the pace of progress in technology and AI, we are in a Darwinian self-correcting model, and we are right at the moment where things are about to change on a pace that is going to be more faster than many of us could adapt. But it's about to happen, and we need to be ready. And a lot of people will say that it's already happening. Let me actually tell you why this is not an extraordinary claim. If you told people 30 years ago that people in Kenya, children in Kenya, are going to have devices in their hand with technology, with computer power that is more advanced than what CIA has access now, and kids in the villages of Kenya will be playing games on that advanced technology in their hands, people were like, "You're fucking out of your mind. What the fuck are you talking about?" So when you think about the next 30 years, this was 30 years ago. Things like this, things that are unimaginable, are going to happen on a much more rapid scale. So this has already happened. When I say the average age of humans used to 100 years ago used to be 40, now it's 78. So when it comes to the next 30 years or 40 years, you cannot just add another 40 years, because the growth is not linear. The growth is going to be exponential. And I hope you guys appreciate that if we get to live, if our lifespan gets to become to 120 and 150, it's not going to remain at 150. If you get to live long enough to see 120 years old, you're going to live long enough to see 1,000, 5,000, 10,000. Because even if we don't get to immortality within the next 40 years, we're definitely going to get it into the next 100 years. And I will show you why in the next stream, for why this is definitely going to happen. So you don't need to just live long enough for humanity to be able to reach immortality. You just need to live long enough, just a little bit more with more medical improvement, just a little bit every time. And then if you make it past that line, you will pass it enough to be able to see 1,000 years and 5,000 years or 10,000 years. And I will show you in the next stream some scientific evidence for why we are about to hit immortality if you make it. And if we die, it's important to understand. If you die, you have been the unluckiest humans who have ever lived. I told you that you are the luckiest humans who have ever lived, because you get a chance at immortality. But if you die, then you are the unluckiest humans who have ever lived, because you got so close to immortality and you missed it by that much. You came all the way from 300,000 years of humans living on this planet. You were close to the edge of godhood, and you missed it by that much. You were given a chance to see not the heavens promised to us by religion, but but heavens made in the material world by humans themselves, and you were given the chance to get in there, and you missed it. And I'll tell you what the sins are that makes you not see that heaven, because these are material sins, not religious ones. Everything that you can imagine that in that humans do, we will be able to do, unless it violates the laws of math and physics. There are no hard laws in chemistry or biology or any other science that could not be violated. The only laws that cannot be violated are laws of math and physics. Let me just understand how. Let me just explain to you and make you understand how this works. Right. The very basic of everything is math. Physics is a form of math. Why? Because physics is the math of time, space, matter, and energy. Physics is a form of mathematics. Okay. Physics is the mathematics of time, space, matter, the mathematics of matter and energy in time and space. Chemistry is a form of physics. So we have math at the first level. Physics goes on top of math. Chemistry is a form of physics. Chemistry is the physics of molecules and atoms. Biology is a form of chemistry. Biology is a complicated chemical processes categorized in a form that we call life. So living beings are just chemical entities with very complicated chemical processes. And as long as they have certain features, we call those chemical processes life. So biology is a form of chemistry. Human sciences like economics, sociology, and any other form of human sciences, like, I don't know, psychology, politics, finance, all of that is a form of biology. It's basically observing and scientifically analyzing the behavior of an animal called humans. So within the biological world, one animal, we looking at the behavioral biology of the human animal, that is called human sciences, right? And that's basically finance, politics, econ, and all of that stuff, right? Psychology. So basically, we have math. Physics is a form of math. Chemistry is a form of physics. Biology is a form of chemistry, and all human sciences are a form of biology. They all basically build up on each other, right? The thing that we will never be able to violate are the first two steps, the rules of math and physics. But everything above that, there are no hard laws in there that cannot be violated. They're flexible. Within chemistry, within biology, they're all flexible. And that means that what's our limitation? There's only 3 limitations, and all of these limitations can be conquered with time. So time is a function that will make us at least conquer 2 of these 3 barriers. The reason humans can't do certain things beyond violating math and physics is that they don't have either the energy, the intelligence, or the motivation. Yes, good job. These are people from my Persian stream, so they know. Wow, people are from our Persian stream here. They remember what I said over there. So if there's anything you can imagine that does not violate math and physics, the only reason why we cannot do it yet is because we either don't have the energy for it, or we don't have the intelligence, the know-how, or the motivation, or else we would do it. And let me actually be clear, energy is not the right term. We should be actually talking about low entropy, because it's not how much energy you have, it's about how much energy that you could put into work. But to make it simple, we will refer to it as energy. But the actual thing we need is not energy, it's low entropy. Okay? But let's just call it energy. Let's just call it energy. So beyond the motivation factor, I mean, but who cares that we're not doing something if we don't want to do it? The other 2 limitations are energy and intelligence. And the reason why we are right now in the middle of the 4th industrial revolution is because we're going to have an explosion in our access to energy and intelligence. Given that all our limitations are because of lack of access to intelligence and energy, and given that humans are going to have plenty of both in amounts unimaginable to us in history, that means that we are going to be doing things very soon that would make us look like gods to people that came before us. And let me explain why we will be actual gods, not like gods. Not maybe not the Abrahamic gods, but the traditional gods that people meant before. So historically, religions, when they defined gods, they weren't talking about a triomni god. The triomni god was something that seeped into Abrahamism from uh, Plato. But most religions throughout history did not believe in a triomni god until Christianity, Judaism, and Islam spread that idea. A triumni god is a god that is all powerful, like a all powerful, all loving, and all knowing. Means that it's absolute in its power and knowledge. But throughout history, when people believed in gods, they didn't believe in gods that were absolute in power, or kindness, or knowledge. Most gods of ancient Greek, ancient Egypt, ancient Persia, they had limitations. They were able to do things that were they were able to do extraordinary things, but they weren't able to do all things. All things. They had their limitation. And they were sometimes assholes. They weren't all loving. They were dicks sometimes, who still needed to be respected because they were powerful, but they were dicks. And they were also not all knowledgeable. They used to get surprised. They used to send birds to gather information for them. But they used to be backstabbed. They used to be, so they were not all powerful. Based on the definition of what meant to be a god throughout history, not like Allah, not like Jesus could do anything, but what most people meant by gods throughout history, we are going to be exactly like gods, meaning that we are like gods before maybe couldn't violate the rules of math and physics, but they could do many other extraordinary things, and we will be able to do that as well. I mean, think about us right now. We would look like gods to people 1,000 years ago. The things that we can do right now, if people 1,000 years could saw what we are doing, they would worship us as gods. So the things that we are about to be able to do soon, because again, the growth is exponential. You don't have to wait another 1,000 years for us to be able to do things that to us today look godlike. It's going to happen a lot more, a lot faster. It's going to be a Cambrian explosion of its own. Again, human mind doesn't really grasp exponential growth. It thinks linear. So we are eventually are going to be able to do things that if you saw today, you will call that magic. Anything that you could imagine, if it doesn't violate math and physics, we will be able to do it one day. And I mean anything. And just think of something absolutely ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous that molecules and atoms could move in a way for that to be a thing. If it doesn't violate physics, the foundational laws of physics and math, then yes, we will be able to do that. No matter how ridiculous you might think it is. It just takes time. Yeah, we be gods, exactly, Darko. And I'm going to show you the path to godhood. If you follow the things I tell you, you might see it. The older you are, the more important it is for you to actually pay attention, because it might be true that children today, I don't know about me, somebody who's 41 years old, I don't know. If you're old, you have to really pay attention. If you're like 60, 70, you have to really pay attention. It might be true that kids today, like children, they're not going to die ever, most of them, unless there's an accident. We're talking about the end of aging and disease as we know it pretty soon. So even if I die, if you see any child today, know that they are probably going to experience godhood. And these, even if we die and I don't know, they are not going to die. So a kid, if you see a kid like, I don't know, playing somewhere, that kid is probably going to live forever unless something tragic happens to it. And the get so I don't know if people are here are familiar with AGI or ASI, and I just want to just quickly mention, and again we're going to go deeper into this in our future streams, but the gap between AGI and ASI is very, very small, very, very small. And if we reach ASI, then we have achieved godhood. Because if we so we don't even need a to wonder when we are going to reach AGI or ASI. There's only one thing that we have to ask ourselves with regards to when we will be reaching it, and then everything else will just come without us even being involved. And this is called the last problem humanity needs to solve. The last problem humanity needs to solve. And guys, I'm going to in this stream, this is the first stream that we're doing on this topic, and in the future streams I'm going to go through the scientific work that is being done, the scientific research that is being done on every single topic that I'm discussing, to show you where all of this is coming from. But the last problem humanity needs to solve is to get AI to make better AI without human involvement. And we are already getting there. We don't even need to worry about making AI that knows how to drive, getting AI that knows how to do other scientific form of research, getting AI that knows how to get the most amount of energy from the sun, does accounting, does finance, AI that does, manages the company better, AI that does politics better. We don't need any of that. We only need AI, and if we get this, we will get all of those other things. We only need to get to a point when AI could just do one thing without humans needing to help it out. AI that does AI research, and AI that figures out how to improve AI. Once we solve that, we have solved everything. Everything. And I mean everything. Because everything else will just come by itself. All right. So again, I will make sure to show you all of these in the future streams. But let me before I make this too long, I just want to make sure that I explain to you guys what you need to be doing. So a lot of people are focusing on the short term, and they're making the point that when AI comes and makes human labor, both physical labor and cognitive labor, irrelevant, because it will be able to do everything, almost everything, better than humans. Then, when human labor becomes irrelevant, then human capital will become everything. And that's why a lot of people are saying that it's important for you to have more capital. And I think that might be true. And maybe the right advice is to save and invest, because then you're going to have the upper hand if you have capital, given that human labor is going to become irrelevant soon. But that is short term, because long term, that is not going to matter anymore as well. Because in a world where we're living at an age of abundance, where there's more than enough food for everybody, the most amazing food, the most amazing ways of living, the most amazing entertainment, the most amazing everything, the most amazing lifestyle, the most amazing care, both mental care, physical care, health care, everything, then having more capital is not going to matter. Because what am I going to do to capital? I'm already living the best potential life that I could have. What is the point? Right? But what is going to be the point of living if everything is being provided? Everything is being provided. The point is that everything can never be provided. Why? Because when we say everything, we are speaking from our perspective as humans today. Because you already have everything based on the perspective of humans that came 5,000 years ago. So, but you're not satisfied. So if humans, the average human who lived in a farm looked at your life today, they would think that you have everything. So what motivation could you have to do anything else? You already have everything. But you don't feel like you have everything. You feel like there's a lot more that you want. So the humans in the future who to us would look like they have everything, they would not feel like they have everything. They would feel like, yeah, based on us today, they look like they have everything. But they would also there would be so many things that they want that they cannot achieve. Why? Because there will always be limitation. Because even though the energy and intelligence that we will have access to would look like infinite compared to the energy and intelligence that we have access today, it will not be infinite. It will just look like infinite. So there will always be limitations. And when there's limitations, there will be wants. Every time when there's a limitation, that means that there were things that we could not have, and we want the things that we cannot have. So there is a short term where AI is going to come and is going to take a lot of jobs, but many things will be the same. And some people would lose a lot and some people will gain a lot. And then there's going to be a medium term where there's not going to be any difference among us. There are not going to be, when it comes to access to wealth, when it's going to be access to the best ways of living. All of us are going to be basically living the same quality of life, but there's going to be something else that we will be competing on. And I'm going to talk about that medium term, right? And then there's going to be a longer term, much longer term, we are just going to be merging together, and AI and humans are just going to be one thing, and there's not going to be individuals, and just going to be part of one connectome. And I'm not talking about that long term. I'm talking about that medium term. I'm not talking about that short term where AI will come and some of us will be poorer, some of us will be richer, some of us will be losing our jobs, some of us will be excited, some of us will be anxious. That's the short term. I'm talking about that medium term where AI has provided a lifestyle to all of us, that just like we are living right now, the lives, better lives that than kings lived for 10,000 years. Your lifestyle today is better than all the kings that lived in history for the past 10,000 years. You living in your apartment today is a better life than Marie Antoinette in France. Okay, she didn't have air conditioner. Okay, Marie Antoinette didn't have air conditioning. She didn't have access to the entertainment that you have on your phone. She didn't have access to the diversity of food that you have access to. Okay, so you're living a better life than Marie Antoinette. Okay, so in the medium term, so in the short term, a lot of us are going to lose, a lot of us are going to gain, but in the medium term, every single person is going to have a better life than the richest person today. The poorest person is going to have a higher standard of living than the richest person today. In that world, what are we going to be competing on? What is going to be the point of leverage? What is going to be the point of leverage? Which people are going to be above? Which people are going to be below? How do we answer this question? I mean, we could do some thought experiments. What would people be obsessed with in a world that everything can be done by AI? Because let me tell you, even if humans are irrelevant when it comes to work, they will not be irrelevant compared to each other. Before we all become one thing, when and humans and AI are still separate, Humans will remain, as long as we could still define them as humans. Humans will be obsessed with other humans, as we have always been. The only humans who are not obsessed with other humans are humans who are worried about their food or their security, right? If your basic needs are met, if you have enough food to live, if you have a roof over your head, clothes to wear, and if you are not worried about your security, somebody coming and killing you, then everything else that we're obsessed about is about other humans, about how they see us, how we see them, how they influence us, how we influence them. And the game that we play with other humans is called the status game. And we try to, if you think about it, most of what you do throughout your life is the status game, meaning that the way you're perceived and how high or low or how important you are perceived by society, by your wife, by your husband, by your children, by your boyfriend, by your girlfriend, by your crush, by your peers, by other students in school, by workers in your office, the house that you're buying, the pictures you're taking, putting on social media, the car that you're buying, all of this, the discussions that you have with other people, the live streams that you create, the comments that you write, it's all about influencing other people because we're obsessed with other people and being influenced by them. We are so interested in each other. Let me tell you why this is important about our future. Before AI, before ChatGPT and the most recent advancement that we saw in AI was already doing certain things much better than humans. One of them is chess, right? AI has already beaten humans in chess, all humans in chess, way before ChatGPT came around. However, we're still obsessed with chess. Even though this is a thing that AI can do better than any human, you could see there are still chess tournaments. People are still watching humans playing chess against other humans on YouTube. There's so many videos on them, and they get a lot of views. Why do here if you want to know how could you have leverage and how you could have the upper hand in a world where AI is about to come, this is the question that you should be asking yourself. Why do people still watch chess? Why do they watch humans playing other humans on chess, given that AI can still do that better than any human? And if you can answer that question, then every time you want to know what should I do to remain relevant, you have to ask yourself, is that like that chess or not? You have to compare it to chess. Because even if AI could play chess better than any human, we're still interested in seeing humans with their limitations being challenged against each other and competing each other and overcoming their limitations and doing something extraordinary that is challenging to a human. We are obsessed with human emotion. Let me give you another example, even older than AI beating us in chess. This happened when I was a kid, so this is many years ago. You know, Persian carpets are world famous. They're the best carpets. They're handmade Persian carpets. They're the most expensive carpets in the world, right? Persians are famous for their carpet. China, when I was a kid, they started making Persian carpets with machines that looked very much like handmade carpets. They even put the flaws of a handmade carpet designed into the machine made carpets to be able to make it look like it's handmade. However, but handmade carpets in Iran, they come with the certification that this is handmade and you could verify that it's handmade and everything. A handmade carpet, Persian carpet, that has the verification that you know that this is handmade, always goes for so much more money. It's a lot more expensive than a Chinese made machine carpet that looks exactly like a handmade carpet. Why is it that the one that you could verify that is handmade so much more expensive, even if you can't tell the difference? Why is that? Why is it? And this happened when I was a kid. Because it's not just about the carpet. It's about the human behind the carpet. Because that carpet, we are interested in the effort, the human effort. Because when the carpet that was handmade, the humans, I mean, you might not care, but the fact that some humans care and are willing to pay a lot more money for it is because you feel like there's a connection, there's a story. There were human hands with their limitation behind making this carpet, and you value that. And that's why you pay more money for it. So now let me give you some examples of humans who did not have to worry about work, because we don't have to theorize about what humans will do when they do not have to work. Because right now, you spend a lot of your time working to try to make ends meet and basically cover your basic needs. And then everything else you do is mostly 99% of everything else you do is basically your connection with other humans. So if AI comes and takes that half of your life where you're spending time trying to make a living, then we are going to be even more obsessed with other humans. It's going to be closer to 100% of your time focusing on other humans. That means we're going to have more drama. We're going to have more jealousy. We're going to have more romance. We're going to have more love life. We're going to have spend time more on poetry. And like today, if you're studying chemistry, today, if you're studying math, today, if you're studying in engineering, it's for the sake of being able to become a productive member of society that produces things for society. But in a world that AI could do all of that better, will we not be studying chemistry? Guys, do you think that in that world, I mean, I think less people will study chemistry. Okay, for sure, because they don't need to. But will people still study chemistry? I think yes, in that world, people will still study chemistry. But why will people study chemistry? AI knows chemistry, and AI could do anything with chemistry that we want. So why would humans bother study chemistry? Because we are curious and we want to flex and we want to talk about chemistry to each other. If we study math, like some people will go learn chess because they want to play chess with each other. Some people will go study math. They will become expert mathematicians, not to become better productive members of societies, but because they want to connect to other humans who would be interested in math. And you know how I know this? You know how I know this for a fact? This is not a theory. Because we've already seen this. All you have to do is go study what did aristocrats do throughout history, throughout feudalism. People who were born in environments that they never had to bother about working, what sorts of lives they were living? Did they go learn stuff? They were learning. Yeah, they were obsessed with libraries. They were studying history. They were studying philosophy. They were studying math. They were studying physics. They were studying biology, but not for the sake of going out and working. They were aristocrats. They didn't need to work for the sake of having something to talk about in the next party, to flex over each other about the knowledge that they have, because they were curious about it, and sometimes they wanted to find other people who are also curious about it and connect with each other. So we don't have to wonder about what humans will be doing. You just have to notice what we did before. You could go to, even before aristocracy, you could go to ancient Athens. In Athens, when people, given that most of the economy was, when they weren't busy in war with the Spartans, and when they weren't, the people who weren't managing the fields or being involved in the slave trades, most of the other people there, when they had so much time on their hand, and because they had so much wealth from the slave trade and they didn't have to work, what did the Athenians do? This was a major part of the free society in Athens. When they weren't at war, they had a lot of time on their hand and they had no work. What did they do? They get obsessed with politics. They got political. They were very political. And they got obsessed with philosophy. That's why we have so much philosophy coming out of Greece, because of that. So this is going to repeat, but for the rest of us. So human connections is what's going to give you the leverage. So when AI gets to do everything else, humans who can human better are going to have the edge. That means building connections and being able to relate with other people, influence other people, being able to make friends, being able to communicate better. And again, this is only in the medium term, because in the long term, humans will become more like AI and AI will become more like humans, because there's no physical laws that doesn't tell you that doesn't allow AI to be able to eventually have the qualia that humans have, not just the pretending like they are humans, but the actual because the human brain is just an algorithm that could be reversed engineered, and you could have an AI version of that. So in the medium term, we will have robots and AI that will be very convincingly happy and sad, even though the emotion behind it is not the happiness and sadness that we are experiencing. But in the long term, we will actually create entities that will, when they're not pretending to be happy, they're actually having the very same quality that you're having when they're being happy. Okay, but in the medium term, given that the qualia is not the same and humans care about the qualia, and I know humans care about the qualia. Let me give you an example for why AI that could do anything, as long as it cannot be human, we will still care about the human element. It's not the human element, it's the shared experience element. We want to know behind that smile, it's actually the feeling of happiness. It's not enough. It's not enough that there's a smile there. The feeling behind that smile I have to be able to relate to the feeling behind that smile. And let me tell you how I know that. Here's a thought experiment. Imagine if somebody comes and to your home, and this is going to get dark, okay? And captures you and your family and ties all of you up, and then turns to you and like, hey, I'm going to kill your child unless you could give me the best act of laughing and being happy. If you can convince me that with a, act very well as if you're happy, then I will not kill your child. So you smile, you laugh, and you try to do the best act and to pretend that you're happy and to save your child. Let's say you do a good job. If you were observing that, would you get the feeling of happiness from this person? You know that this is a very convincing smile, but you know that you feel you're disgusted by it. This is dark. You know the feeling behind that smile is actually a lot of anxiety, a lot of fear, a lot of stress. You understand that. So even though you're seeing a smile, you cannot relate with it as if it's a smile. You could relate with the situation as if it's a very stressful situation. That's what you experience, even though you're seeing a smile. So if AI could get very, very good at becoming convincingly smiling and crying, we still care about the shared experience. We do not just want a smile. We want the feeling of the smile behind that smile, a genuine feeling of a smile behind that smile. And for a very long time, even if AI gets good at everything, it will not be able to produce that genuine happiness. Eventually it will, but for a very long time it won't. And that's when where humans will have the edge. Because of humans care about that shared experience and only other humans can produce that shared experience, then humans will have the upper hand in being human. Even if AI can produce everything and do everything better, AI for a very long time cannot do human. And because we're so obsessed with humans, that will be the edge, the connection. Think about universities. Universities originally in Europe were built not to create productive members of society who could work better. The point of universities were for the elite of society who do not even dream of working, go get educated so that they could be a higher standing member of society, not for working, but just to just be able to impress each other more. That was the point of universities. Eventually, especially with the the industrial revolution, then universities turned into creating better workers for the industry after the industrial revolution. So how do we not get left behind? So for the short term, you just have to make sure that you have the upper hand. So the things that you need to learn, for example, is how to make friends and influence people, which is a book. There's a book that you could read about that, right? How to make connections. You could make a small YouTube channel where you're streaming to people and talking to people just to exercise talking, connecting, expressing yourself. And also something that I'm bad at, listening. Okay, not just talking, but listening. Becoming better listeners. So very short term, yes, capital is going to win over labor. A little bit farther, human connections matter. And also, here's some other things that would be important. The limitations of the human body is going to make us more interested maybe in sports, because even if AI could do the most crazy backflips or whatever physical thing that they could do, we enjoy the limit. Think about most of the myths and legends that humans have created in history. It's about humans overcoming challenges. Humans overcoming challenges. That's basically the premise of almost the vast majority of the stories that we are obsessed with. Because we are obsessed with watching other humans having a challenging over among them and then them overcoming it. Because watching heroes in stories facing challenges that they overcome or maybe don't overcome, we find that relatable because our entire mind on our own personal life is about challenges in our life that we're trying to overcome. So when we watch other humans or stories of other humans with challenges in their way, that is a point of that's relatable. We are obsessed with seeing that. The reason why our brain seems to be hardwired that way is because we want, from an evolutionary perspective, we have been motivated to keep overcoming challenges and to inspired by other humans overcoming challenges, so we get more motivated to overcome challenges, so we move forward. And because of that being the wiring of our brain, that's how we connect with each other. So we're obsessed with having some limitations and then overcoming them. That's why we watch sports. If you see a robot, maybe like eventually robots doing the craziest, they play soccer and they could do things that humans could never do in a soccer field, that will be interesting for a while. But eventually we're going to go back to watching humans playing soccer in a field, because, okay, wow, crazy robots can do this. We're going to watch it. We're going to watch it. We're going to watch it. And eventually it's going to get so boring that we're going to go back to watching humans, because we want to see them with their limitations doing those things. I mean, here's an example. This is why when you play computer games, it's boring if you put it on easy mode. Why do people not play computer games on super, super easy modes? Because humans want a challenge. They want the challenge. They want to have something, they want to do something difficult. So some things, celebrity culture will become bigger because humans are good. So celebrity culture, either because of, for many different reasons, because people overcoming their challenges, even maybe we're going to be obsessed with celebrities, models, but also we're going to be, some of us are going to be more obsessed with philosophers, with scientists, but we're going to we're going to focus on other humans. And because it's a status game, if people are not competing over work, they're going to be competing over being seen, over being important, over mattering. Some people are going to care about mattering to a lot of people. Some people are going to be focusing on mattering to a few people. Some people are going to be focusing on mattering to one person, like just maybe their wife or their child. But it's all going to be about, I need to matter. I need to matter to somebody or many people. But that's going to be the obsession. How do I become that celebrity? How do I become that philosopher that people admire? How do I become that player that people admire? How do I become that gamer? That gaming. I said something Persian. Gaming. The whole point. Why do most people, when they're gaming with other people? Most of people who are gaming, they're not a lot. Most of the fun is not because of the game itself. It's most of the fun from gaming comes because you're doing it with other people and you're challenging other people and other people are challenging you and you're communicating with other people while you're doing that game. So gaming is a good way to measure what people are going to be obsessed with about. You want to be known as a good gamer, you want to defeat other people, you want to be seen about, you want to make friends when you're going gaming, talking to other people live. So if people are not working, they're going to be doing more of these things. We don't have to predict this. We know what humans do when they're not working. It's just going to be more of that. This is not easy. I mean, this is not difficult to predict. So here's another example when it comes to what work is going to be like. I think let's compare doctors to nurses. I think AI might actually be very threatening to doctors, and but not as much, at least, to nurses. Why? Everything that a doctor does can be done by an AI better. I mean, we're already getting there. We don't even have to wait for that. And even if AI could do it better for a long time, we're still going to have doctors because of the regulatory nature of it and the fear aspect of some people not trusting AI. But we're already going to get to a place where surgery and diagnosis is going to be done by AI so much better than any human. And eventually, when we overcome those taboos and the regulatory barrier, there will be no doctors. But in a world that there's no doctors, at least in that medium term, there will still be nurses. Why will there be still nurses? Why would there be? Why do you think I can imagine a world with no doctor but still nurses? And again, these nurses in the hospital, or maybe not even in the hospital, maybe at your home now, but whatever they are, they're not going to be checking the monitor. They're not going to be taking notes. They're not going to be changing your bed. They're not going to be changing your medicine. They're not going to be like doing any of those things. What will they be doing? Because given that when AI can do everything better, given that human connection is going to be the most important thing, because humans want someone there. They want a human there. They want somebody to hold their hand. They want somebody that is looking them in the eye, and behind those eyes, the algorithm behind those eyes is not an AI algorithm. It's a human. It's an experience that is relatable to me as a human. I mean, some people won't care. Some people are like, I don't care. This robot looks like it's caring, so that's good enough for me. But as long as there are going to be some humans who are like, no, this robot is pretending to care. I want genuine care. And that's what we're going to be doing more. We're going to be obsessed with that care. We want kindness. We're going to be obsessed with more kindness, more hate and more kindness. These humans of emotions are going to become more take more of a central stage in our attention. So I want a nurse there, not because she could do anything better than an AI, but because she could be listening to my stupid stories, or maybe because she's like smiling at me, or maybe because I don't know, she comes and holds my hands or something. I mean, not that at that time we're not going to be lying in beds because we're going to be have much more able bodies, but you get the point. We want somebody there. I mean, eventually AI will be able to do human as well, because again, there's nothing in our brain that could not eventually be completely replicated by AI, so that we will achieve that as well. But for a very long time, we know AI will not have that emotion, and we want that emotion. And then that would be what a nurse is, it does. Like, yeah, okay, like this was a very robotic experience and I feel better, but I need somebody to talk to that feels. Okay, so I already mentioned that thought experiments. I already Okay, so here's I mentioned a couple of things that seem to be important: being able to connect with people better. Maybe human capital was going to be more important than human labor for a little while, but then that's going to be relevant as well. But here's the most important thing: the most important thing, that if you miss this part, you are you have done something so stupid. You have had the biggest reward that has not been offered to humans throughout history, and has been offering to you, and because of a few stupid decisions you have missed it. And this is the most important part of the stream, and it's going to sound like I'm talking to a child or giving you a boring advice, but I promise you, this might sound boring, but it is the most important advice that anybody could ever give you. And it seems obvious, and you're like, yeah, 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 Armin, we know we do need to do those things. Like my mom told me this when I was a kid, and blah blah blah. But again, if you do not do these things that I tell you, you are missing out. And I know that the people who survive this, at some point we're all going to get connected, and we are going to know each other more than anybody. One, if you guys survive what I'm about to tell you, every single person here, we are going to know each other in a way that no human has ever known any other human ever. Every single one of us here are going to be completely connected one day, and we are going to know each other more than we know ourselves today. I will know every single one of you, and you will know me in a way that I don't even know myself one day, if we survive this, because we're all going to be connected one day. And when we get connected, please remind me how right I was about all of this. Okay, when at that point when we all get connected. Okay, and this is what's important. The most important thing you could do is not die. You just need to make, and in the next stream I'm going to be talking to you about longevity, escape velocity, and I'm going to show you how close immortality is, how unbelievably close immortality is. And you guys could make it, or you might not make it, and all of the things I told you, you might see it or you might not, depending on whether or not you take care of yourself. And the advice I have that is more important than saving money, collecting capital, getting better at making human connections, the advice I have for you is this, and these are pretty basic and pretty simple. Make sure you get a lot of sleep, drink a lot of water, exercise. And by exercise, you don't need to make it complicated. Just make sure you're moving a bit every day in any way, as long as you're not stationary all fucking day. Okay? Don't eat garbage. Do not smoke. Stop drinking alcohol. Again, this is it. Everything else when it comes to health are just the 20%. This is are the things that matter much less when it comes to effectiveness. If you just do only what I told you, that is the main difference between absolute nothingness and godhood. And this is not an exaggeration. These are simple things. These are my commandments, okay? These are the commandments that could make you see heaven. And if you don't follow them, you will fall into the abyss of nothingness and you will miss out. Very easy to follow. Anyways, I don't want it to make this longer. Let me actually see what you guys said in the stream. Thank you, Nima, for starting these comments. Perry is saying, we don't know yet how consciousness arises, hence we can't say anything about creating it. One does not follow the other. First of all, we do know it's not nothing. We know some things about consciousness. We don't know everything about consciousness, but we know some things. We know, and we're getting more and more informed about it. One thing that we almost know for sure is that it's completely material. So if it's material, then it's an algorithm. It's just a code that even if we cannot decode this code, then at some point AI will be able to decode that code. And honestly, consciousness can actually be an illusion. There might be no such thing as consciousness, but that's a different topic. But even if there is a consciousness, it's nothing but material. It's a code that can be decoded by AI. So we don't need to know exactly how consciousness works to be able to know that at some point we will be able to figure it out and reverse engineer it. I mean, forget about consciousness. We don't even know how the fucking brain works in many ways. Consciousness is the last level. We don't know how the brain even stores information. Forget consciousness. We don't. I mean, we have some ideas, but we don't know the units of data. If I look at this, and now I'm not looking at it, and I'm trying to remember what it looks like. The information of what that looks like is stored somewhere in my brain, and we don't know how. We don't know what's the units of those information in my brain. Does that mean that we will not be able to hack that at some point? So that is so much more simple than consciousness. And I know for a fact that we will be able to figure it out because it's all material and it's just a freaking code in my head. It's just so complicated that we can't figure it out, but AI will be able to figure it out at some point. Perry saying, wow, that's interesting. Yeah. This is what keeps me up at night. Jack is saying, we achieve immortality. How do we solve overpopulation? We do not have to worry about overpopulation at all. In fact, if there's anything we have to worry about, is underpopulation. Overpopulation is not a thing on other than certain places on our globe. Certain places, if there are a couple of places in our globe that we have to worry about overpopulation a little bit, but most of our problems today and in the future is going to be underpopulation, overpopulation. We have way more space that we could actually make livable above, below, in the sea or in the desert. We're going to have way more space than we need. And in fact, as societies progress, yeah, we're going to be kicking ourselves for why we ever try to at any point have any policies for reducing population. When we want women to be able to, not just women, fathers and mothers, be able to control their condoms and the right to abortion, is because family planning is not to reduce population. The point of family planning and having control over when you have kids is because it's important for families to be able to plan their children when they want it, not because we're trying to reduce population. A higher population is usually more advantageous. We throughout history we always worried about like, oh no, if we get to this population we will not be able to feed this population, and every time we were wrong. Every time the so-called overpopulation itself was responsible for the industrial revolution that created more calories and more resources per person, even with the higher population. The higher population itself was responsible for the industrial revolution that created more resources per person, even though we had more people. So let's go to Seb saying, we will live longer and in better health, but immortality is a big stretch. I will show you on the next stream that if you could live longer, then you will reach immortality. And I will show you, guys, we have already been able to not only stop aging in mammals. I'm not talking about worms or fish. We have been able to reverse aging already. This is not a big stretch at all. This is something that we have done already. Reverse aging. I'm telling you, sooner than most people realize, we're going to be able to get to have the science not to get a 60-year-old or an 80-year-old to stop aging anymore, but to actually reverse a 60-year-old, to reverse aging to get them to a body of a 30-year-old. In the near future, we're not going to have any old people. Even people who are old today will be able to live in 30-year-old bodies. That's what we're achieving, and that's what we have. This is not theory. We are already doing this. The only thing that slows the process is the regulatory part of it, but not just in theory. We have done this in labs already on mammals, and I will show you that in the next stream. What is it? What is it? Hold on. I have to look this up. Oh, this is the Japanese. Wait, so Heavy Grittel is saying, but when do I get my Gundam? Is that how you pronounce it? Mixed suit armament. I don't know, but you will. I mean, your very own body could turn into capable enough for you not to need a suit at some point. But that is, I mean, that's something that we already can make. It's just like not at scale. I've already seen prototypes of that. Jack is saying, where do we get more intelligence? AI. Guys, we're going to have an abundance of it, like even before we get to genetically re-engineer our brains for us to become more intelligence ourselves, and eventually connect our brain to higher processing powers, and us becoming more intelligent like AI ourselves. Just when AI can do everything, when AI can do anything that humans can do, both when it comes to physical labor and cognitive labor, which means intelligence, you understand this is uh, every artificial general intelligence model that you have will be like a human that has multiple doctorates in every fucking topic. Every AI that not just us, but a random kid in the farthest villages away in, I don't know, Madagascar or wherever, and they're going to have on their phone access to an expert in everything. So this guy, the AI that a child in a village in a far away country that is poor, they're gonna have in their hands advisors, an advisor that is an expert in every topic more than any other human. This is the abundance of intelligence on a scale unimaginable just 10 years ago. This is Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention something important that you need to do as well. Actually, I forgot the most important advice that I could have given you. I will thank you for reminding me, Jack. This part is important. I almost forgot. So one important thing that you need to be doing is to start relying on AI. Even though AI right now is not reliable, but you should practice relying on AI more and more until it gets ready for everything. So relying on AI, maybe I should rephrase that. Getting ready for relying on AI. Because AI, like right now, for example, I use Gemini, ChatGPT, and Grok. These are the three AI that I use. And sometimes it's not gives you bad advice. Sometimes it's not correct about certain things. But this is so much better than what it was a year ago. If we just keep going this way, just a few years from now, it will just be give you the best advice on everything. And remember, like, if it gets to that, that means when it comes to what you need to do on every topic, on parenting, on your career, on how to make money, on what to eat, on where to travel, nobody, including yourself, will not have will fail to give as good of an advice as your AI, as your own personal AI. And when you have an intelligence that is above you and above any other human, then it makes absolutely no fucking sense for you to do anything other than what that AI tells you, as long as it's in line with your motivation, as long as you want to do it. So you should be asking AI for everything once we get there. And you need to practice now. What start you if guys, how many people here use AI? You should be using AI on a daily basis, because if you're not, then you're not practicing and you're falling behind. One thing you could do is you could make a Google Doc where you explain everything about yourself, and it doesn't have to be complete at the beginning. You could keep adding to it, so that when you ask AI, you basically dump all that information about yourself to that AI model, and then that AI basically knows everything about your life, including the smallest, maybe irrelevant details that you didn't think would be important. And then you ask it to give you advice on whatever you want to do. Like if you want to make more money, if you want to get closer to your, I don't know, boyfriend or to your wife, if you want to be a better parent, if you want to be a better dog owner or cat owner, if you want to remodel your house, if you want to do anything. There will be no human on this planet that could give you a better, not right now, but at some point, there's nobody on this planet. The entire human civilization together will not be able to give you better advice than one AI model. That is an abundance of intelligence and easy access to it. Think about it. Why are rich people so rich? Is it about what they know or who they know? Most rich people will tell you it's mostly about who they know. It's about the people that know in their life that could tell them what to do. Now, every person will have that. Every person will have more than that. Like right now, the richest people, when they want to do things, they just call people. They just contact people and they tell them to what they should do. They get advice. They have people who tell them what to do with regards to the diet. They got people what to do with regards to the accounting, the structure of their company, their banking. They have people for that. They have people for that because they delegate. And now you're going to have that, and much better than that. And you know why it's going to be much better than that? Because a billionaire today, when they want to talk about their company structure, they talk to one person who is an expert at that. And when they want to talk to about their diet, they talk to another expert. And when they want to talk about their, I don't know, parenting their kid or whatever, they talk to another, or to a psychologist or another expert. But they're missing out on the the combined expertise of all of these together, because the person that is giving you advice on your company structure, maybe if they knew something about your personal life and your relationship with your son, they would be, and if they also understood that psychologically, if they were an expert in psychology, they would give you a weird suggestion with your company structure that would somehow tie into that. And you don't know, because that person is not an expert in both of these things. So there are going to be patterns that are connected between these fields that are unimaginable to humans because they're only expert in their own fields and they could not see the relationship between these. That an AI that is an expert in all of them will be able to connect things together in a way that no human could ever, and they will give you advice that are unimaginable to other humans. So this is an abundance of intelligence that every human should be taking advantage of, and you should be taking advantage of it now. Because even if some AI today is not as good, and sometimes it gives you shitty advice, sometimes that shitty advice gives you an idea that is a good advice. So you could be like, hey, this is my situation, these are my skills, this is my resources, this is the job that I have, this is the time that I have during the day, here's my schedule, here's access to my emails, here's like, all look at all of this and tell me, like, I'm trying to increase my income, what should I do? Right now the AI today will give you an advice that you're like, meh, that doesn't sound good, but hey, it gives me an idea. It gives you a shitty idea today, but you might get something from it that it didn't even intend it. But eventually you get to a point that it will give you the best fucking ideas. So you should practice today. So here's my 8th commandment. Use AI. Use AI. Yeah. Muhammad Tariq is saying, Armin, my guy, I like you, but sounding crazy to me right now. Exactly, because you're not following the science. And there's a quote that says, technology, when it comes advanced enough, it becomes indistinguishable from magic. So Muhammad, I talk to me in 10 years and tell me if you think in 10 years if I sound crazy or not. And again, the point of these streams that I'm going to be doing on this channel is to show you the science that shows that none of this is crazy. And in fact, if anything, you will, if you follow the science that I show you in the upcoming streams, you will say, like, Armin, you were underselling this to us. You were underestimating how fast all of this is going to happen. Some people think that I'm exaggerating. If anything, I'm doing the opposite. And I will show you that. Rasul is saying, starting today, I'm committing to exercise and healthy eating. I don't want to miss out on the future. Good. Guys, I'm not telling you to do anything that is harmful. Whether I'm right or wrong, there's only two, So here's the thing. Religious people, sometimes they say like, hey, just believe in God, because they do Pascal's wager. Let me tell you Pascal's wager, what the religious people do, and I'll tell you then Armin's wager instead of Pascal's wager. Okay, so Pascal's wager is, guys, either there is a God or there is no God. Okay, so it's better to believe in God just to be safe. And first of all, everything that they say is within an immaterial world that has never to be proven to be true. Everything I'm telling you is within the material world, and I have a lot of scientific evidence that all of this has happened, right? But their gamble doesn't make any sense because there's a lot of costs associated with believing in things that are not real, and we are paying a huge price for it. And also, believing in God doesn't actually guarantee you their heaven because they have so many different religions. Okay. However, Armin's wager, unlike Pascal's wager, doesn't have any cost associated with it. Because for you to do what their God is telling you, you have to do a lot of costly things, especially a lot of evil things according to their scripture. But whether I'm either correct or I'm wrong. If I'm correct, you being careful about your health means that you're going to see godhood. If I'm incorrect, if you do the things I tell you, you're just going to live a slightly longer life and a much better quality of life, because I'm telling you it's important to be healthy. That's what I'm telling you. So the cost associated with taking me seriously is not only is zero, there is no cost. Jack is saying, you sound like a techno optimist. AI is not real general intelligence. Yeah, Jack, today Today, AI is not real general intelligence. Today, can make sure that you add that at the end. Guys, it's only been 2 years. This is the amoeba phase of artificial intelligence. This is only the beginning. This is the worst AI will ever be. I have to, guys, in the future streams, I will show you the the barriers that are being broken in AI every day. There's nothing, unless you believe in some that intelligence is something supernatural beyond the material world. If you believe that, then yes, artificial intelligence will never be able to achieve that because there's something woo about intelligence beyond material. But if intelligence is purely material, if intelligence is purely material, there is no limitation to artificial intelligence. In fact, beyond human intelligence. When you say AI is not real general intelligence, okay, agreed. What's going to stop AI from becoming real general intelligence? And let me actually tell you something else. You don't need to get to AGI to get to ASI. In fact, we might get to ASI before AGI. That's another topic. Nima is saying, if you'd like to join our highlight section as a volunteer, just drop me an email. Yes, guys. If you guys, we need more people who are highlighting comments. So please contact Nima. This is his email. If you want to highlight comments on our streams, this would be very appreciated. And then let me read this last comment. YITC saying, look at a chart of worker compensation and productivity since 1980 or so. Productivity skyrockets as wages about to flat. AI will make it much worse without significant change. People are living better. So first of all, when you say 1980, you're zooming in on a very short time. Okay. First of all, on average, worldwide, I mean, you're maybe focusing on the United States. You're focusing this is too zoomed in both in time wise and location wise. Because even if I look at from 1980s till now, if I look at the globe instead of looking at the United States, people are living on average much better lives compared to the 1980s. You want to focus on a very specific time in a specific country in a very rare situation where United States became very it was an era of abundance because of World War II, removing all the industrial competition to United States in Europe, and the United States had a major boost in abundance for a time. And you think that has anything to do with increased productivity? Throughout history, increased productivity improved people's lives, and here also improved people's lives worldwide. In the US, if you see a little bit of a drop, is not because of increasing productivity, is because of the advantage that United States had because of being after World War II for a couple of years. That advantage eventually went away. It had nothing to do with the productivity rising up. In fact, if productivity going up helped people's lives remain better, it would be a much harder drop if the increased productivity was not there. So you focus on United States to be able to get that result, but you also have to focus on a very short time. I mean, if you zoom out time wise, even in United States a bit, people in United States are living much higher quality of life compared to 100 years ago. Why do you just compare to the 1980s? Compared to 100 years ago, 100 years is nothing. Is nothing. I mean, like 60 years ago. It's nothing. We have 10,000 years of civilization. And what do you expect the line to look like? You expect the line to be just straight up? Of course, while it's going up, there's going to be some bumps up and down. So imagine you look at the graph that is going, people's quality of life is just going up, but there are ups and down in the middle. And then you zoom to one of those places that went down a little bit, like, oh, look at this going down here. Look at this. Productivity went up, but people's life became less, you know, There were less abundance here in this line down. Like, what the hell? Zoom the fuck out. Zoom out and look at the graph. Why are you focusing on that drop down over there? So this is an unfair comparison because it's only on one country and in a very short amount of time. Increase in productivity has created more abundance for more people because of technology everywhere around the world, on average, most of the time. Okay. Somebody saying, what is this? D is saying, I will come back and check on you, my friend. You need peace, love, and assurance that only God can give you. Oh yeah, we don't need imaginary gods. We are becoming gods ourselves through science and technology. We don't need fake gods. We will become gods. Anyways, guys, make sure you like the stream. This was just an intro to what we're going to be talking about in this channel. But in the future streams, I'm going to show some of the science about every single, like when it comes to energy, when it comes to AI, when it comes to the last problem that we have to solve, when it comes to the human nature and what the human psychology and what we care about, to when it comes to immortality, the longevity, escape velocity, the science behind that. I will basically go over the details of all the main topics that we touched upon here. Okay, so like the stream so that this channel grows, and we will make this channel about that. Heavy Gretel is here to thank you for being here. Heavy Gretel saying like the stream or else. Yes, 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 yes. So thank you guys. Thank you for being here. Make sure you subscribe. Hit the bell notification, and if you're interested in this topic and know other people who are interested in this topic, please recommend this channel so that we could grow this channel. Again, thank you so much, everybody, and I'm out. And thank you, Nima, for highlighting the comments.